We could have a
Wait, they
situation
don't?
where
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, and we could have a situation where the camel, where the dumbest of all camels, where a newborn camel that dropped from 5 stories and landed on its head is still smarter and knows more about everything in the universe than Stephen Hawking could do on his best of days. But camels are never going to be spacefaring.
But I think we're drifting away from the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
What I have read about the home planet of the Empire is that it was a sentient species capable of space travel.
I all I knew is that it was an intelligent sentient species.
Isn't that in any archive of any kind? Either Federation of Empire?
Hang on, let me look it up. What planet is the capital of the Empire again?
Achernar.
It was Aknar, yeah.
No, what planet?
6 and 6 Delta.
Okay, thank you. Hang on.
Hello, Stevie.
Hello. How are you getting on?
Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. having some plotting problems.
What time did you start off? At 7 o'clock?
I started at 7 BST, so this was 7 hours ago, 7 hours and 20 minutes ago.
So you are far from the record.
Yeah, but if I wait long enough, I'll come back around and lap it. And be close again.
What are the criteria for the record? Just streaming it, or is there any?
No, actually, you just
something
need a screenshot of the beginning and end and being open the whole time. And then the rest is trust. I'm
Seems
just...
pretty wobbly.
Yeah, well, basically they rely on people's goodwill that they're not going to be silly.
That's a bad idea.
But,
Well, I think so far it's worked out fairly well.
back to the point of the unknown artifacts.
Yep.
I do believe, well, trying to be objective in a situation like this is very hard when there is evidence for both sides.
That does... Well, man, you need to learn the meaning of words. You can be objective even when there's evidence on both sides. That's actually... the meaning of being objective is actually just taking the evidence for what it is and not using any sort of bias or personal agenda.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm trying to do, but I seem to be being accused of having some form of
Also,
bias.
there's also nothing wrong with
work as objectively as I possibly can.
But there's nothing wrong. For example, there's nothing wrong with just because a physicist says he believes that string theory is the correct solution to a grand unified theory, does not mean that he is inherently wrong or unscientific. It just means that that's where he believes that.
Well, yes, it means it's his opinion.
No, it is a bit unscientific because the string theory cannot predict anything. And any scientific theory is supposed to be able to do predictions.
That's also true.
It can predict things, but not things that we can currently test.
But
Yeah.
Anyway, we're still drifting away from the point.
Right.
There are things that string theory can predict, but yeah, that's not within the realm of current particle.
Yeah, and I mean something that only string theory can predict and that we can test. There is, at my knowledge, none.
I mean, I don't pretend to know anything
Yeah.
about string theory, but I mean,
No, I'm just using
No, it's true.
And to be fair, I think it was last week or something like that, that there was some kind of discovery from the gravity wave telescope.
LIGO.
That, yeah, and that kind of thinks that dark matter is actually simply very old black holes, and that could fix most of our problems with the standard models.
Yeah, this is something that I had actually considered as well, but the problem is if you had
uniform distribution around all galaxies.
well, yeah, I mean the problem
If
with
it
the
is
dark
very old,
well, the problem is that the black holes would actually be causing lensing, and we'd notice issues, I think, on a galactic scale in regards to the
they
amount of
do-
lensing that
but
you'd see.
Dark matter do cause lensing. That's
Not,
how
not,
we
not.
kinda
Okay, so
detected it right
no,
now.
because the problem is that dark matter doesn't condense like ordinary matter does, and the black holes are dense enough to actually create local lensing. Whereas the dark matter, yes, can create lensing on galactic scales, but it can't create lensing on small scales because it just can't clump up because it doesn't. How would you say it? It can't condense and give away the gravitational binding energy through electromagnetic energy like all matter does. I mean, the way that stars form is through ordinary matter condensing, giving away their gravitational potential energy through electromagnetic energy, through photons, and that's how they're able to become so dense and possibly even become black holes.
I think that sorry to interrupt, but I think that we're again drifted. We've drifted really, really far away.
Yeah,
from
but
the
we,
point.
we, we
yeah,
went away
definitely.
from fictional science to actual science.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean,
But it may be relevant to Thorgals. Maybe they are some kind of dark matter beings. I don't know.
They're ammonia based, as far as I know. Just
well, if they're
that's why
ammonia based, then they're
I'm
not
trying
dark
to
matter
make it-
based.
I'm trying to make it standard canon procedure that we have a can of bug spray, a can of raid on all our ships as like one of the in the emergency kits.
What is the best reactant against ammonia?
I think it's chlorine. Doesn't it cause it to ignite or something?
Well, chlorine reacts with pretty much everything, so you might as well go with fluorine while you're at it.
No, because there's something which someone was telling me this the other day. There's something which actually reacts with ammonia, makes it ignite.
But isn't ammonia a molecule instead of a single element?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of weird.
It's NH4, I believe.
Yeah, because-
Yes.
Yes, because we are carbon based. I mean, we are element based. If it is ammonia based, that means there are multiple elements.
So,
Yeah, I
so,
know.
so the difference
and-
between carbon, so carbon you'd have carbons and then you'd have hydrogens that chain off of it, or possibly other elements. Whereas ammonia is nitrogen based. It's nitrogen with 4 hydrogens, so it's some sort
Okay,
of,
so yeah.
so it's a
so
completely
it's
different
nitrogen.
type of molecule.
The problem with if it's ammonia based, then you're saying that ammonia is working as the solvent in which all the organic reactions take place, or all the life reactions take place. We are water based, so instead of being H2O, they are NH4.
Yeah,
That's the
I'm not
difference.
really
So
sure
instead
how
of hydrogen,
the
rather than and instead of oxygen, they're using nitrogen.
I'm not really sure how the whole thing works. All I know is that Thargoids have ammonia as a key component in their biology. That's
because-
all that anybody knows.
The only alternative
and
that
we
I
have
heard
water
about,
as one.
I only heard that there was some kind of possibility on the molecular basis of silicon-based organic chemistry.
Yeah.
Just because
No.
silicon is just behind the
Yeah, but that
carbon in
means it's
the
not-
elemental table.
The definition of organic chemistry is that it involves.
He meant living though. I was gonna give it to him, but yeah. It's true that
Yeah,
technically
um,
the meaning of
the meaning-
organic is carbon chain.
Yeah, the thing with silicon is that it can make around the same bonds with carbon. It has the same
Yeah,
slots.
the same kind of covalent bonds, and it could get to the same kind of molecules that are involved in the living matter. Which is kind of weird because we have our computer are all silicon based.
We've really drifted.
Sorry.
Not in a bad
no,
way
it's
Yeah, but
necessarily.
they
a
are.
great scientific discussion. I just think we've really drifted.
But also, the fact that we currently use silicon-based computers does not mean we will necessarily continue using them. We
We
might
could use
switch to
carbon-based
carbon.
computers at some
We
point.
might end up there.
Yeah.
The
Well,
one thing
we're
I'm kind of-
vastly coming to a point at which actually the general way in which we use computers has to fundamentally shift, not just the material we use them out of, because we're already at the order of a couple atoms in terms of gate size for transistors. So the entire idea behind computers needs to dramatically shift in the future if there's going to be progression, not just some change from
Well, that's
silicon to
because we are limiting
carbon.
ourselves to a certain size of ships. I am
Well,
kind of
oh, I
a
thought we were
believer
talking about
that we should
computers.
go for bigger chips instead of a smaller process.
Oh, chips. Oh, chips. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? We're talking about computers. Okay,
Sorry.
chips.
Yes,
Okay.
I mean, we should go for bigger processors instead of trying to
The
get
problem
down
with-
to a
Well, the problem
slower
with
micro.
bigger processors is that you have to send this electricity through more material. And when you send electricity through material, there are inefficiencies that are involved, and there are signal losses involved. And that's something that would need to be completely rethought
It's
if
not
that
the
was to
only
be
issue.
done.
It
And
doesn't
actually,
prevent us to put a second chip against
but
the first one. I mean, it is
heat
the
is
basis
not-
of multi-core computing.
yeah, but heat is not actually the main issue. The main issue we face is signal speed, because at the clock frequencies we're operating, the distance at which the waveform can propagate through the material sets a limit as to how big a chip can we work with. So when we have bigger chips, we are forced to have slower clock speeds, not because of heat, but because the signal cannot travel from point A to point B fast enough.
I don't know if that's
can-
necessarily
That
true.
doesn't seem to be a problem in the human brain. So
No, but we are also operating on much lower clock frequencies. But in computing, that is the main factor we run into. We can solve it partly by going to optical computing instead, but that only gets us about, I think, 3 times the distance.
Yeah.
And we do that simply by reducing the size anyway, which is why it's much easier to reduce the production size rather than going from, like, say, going from 28 to 14 nanometers, which is a 4x reduction in component size, rather than switching from 28 nanometer electrical to 28 nanometer optical, because that only gets you a factor of 3 when you can get a factor of 4 by reducing it.
yeah, but optical also gives it a lot of heat.
No,
Well, heat is not the biggest issue. It is to a certain extent, but that's if you think heat is a massive issue, all you really need to do.
it kind of
to,
is in
uh,
personal
use more
compute.
cooling.
It is.
Yes,
It kind of.
we can cool those things.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I mean, you look at something like in terms of big chips, we already had those with Itanium. Itanium chips were fucking huge.
And
And they
way
did
ahead
something-
of our time.
Not really. They did some things really good, but the majority of things they were really bad at, because they were essentially the same as having what we have today with
oh, I got a route. I
computer
got a route.
cores or compute cores. So they're really good at that kind of thing, but general computing they generally sucked at.
And I think we've once again drifted off the point
Indeed.
about
Welcome to the yellow.
I think we should actually finish our discussion about the unknown artifacts before.
Well,
we
okay. Are you
I
going
am-
to make computers from Dark Fields?
Now, are you going to open your research? That's the big question.
What do you mean by
Right.
open the research?
Anyone can access it.
Canon research is free and posted on the Canon website for anybody to access.
So where do you have access restraint?
Oh, here we go
what?
again.
For your office? That was.
I
you
don't
were
want the.
talking
I
before?
don't think the content. Oh, I nearly said a really bad word then. I don't think that the contents of my lunchbox are is supposed to be public knowledge.
It is
You
if
know,
it
it's
is
my
if it
office, you know,
it is if it
You're
affects
fighting
the
the lunch
quality
box.
of the information we're getting about how you're conducting your research, because the food that you consume you're going to be bringing right up to the object, and that might actually have an effect on how the object reacts. And while you keep these things secret, the veracity and how would you say, the 100% authority of your claims that you're doing diligent research can be held into question.
Also, how do you know that you haven't accidentally spilled noodles on it and somehow caused a wormhole to open up?
Well,
Yeah.
because I haven't actually. My office actually has been permanently locked. Well, actually, I've never actually been in my own office. I'm not quite sure what's in there. I've never actually unlocked it. I sort of claimed it when they were like, "We're building a Canon station." I was like, "I want an office and lab space," and like, I've never actually used it.
By the way, just excuse me, it's a little bit out of roleplay question. Are we talking about a real office, or is it just a roleplay
It's-
thing?
Aboard the Canon Institute, so it's a fictional office.
All right, just wanted to
Wait,
check.
what? What? What?
I was starting to believe that he had.
No, I
an
don't
actual
actually have an office.
What are you talking about? Of course he has a
completely
real
in
office.
character and fictional.
What are you talking about? You don't have an
Sorry,
office?